All right, the other video cut off before we finish this problem. So let's go ahead and finish. This is the one that you were supposed to try on your own. So I'm going to multiply a 3d squared here to get 6d cubed plus 9d squared. When I subtract, I get a negative 8d squared. I'm going to bring down the negative 2d. Negative 4d is going to go right there, giving me a negative 8d squared minus 12d. When I subtract, I get a positive 10d. I'm going to bring down the 17. It's going to go in there 5 times, giving me with 10d plus 15 with 2 left over. So it's going to be plus 2 over 2d plus 3. All right. Moving on to 12.6. Is adding and subtracting with like denominators. So this is where we didn't have to find a common denominator. We just had to combine the top numbers. Okay, see the denominators is a minus 4. So all I have to do is combine the top. So I have 2a minus 4 minus a over a minus 4. That gives me a minus 4 on the top, a minus 4 on the bottom. That does not equal 0. That equals 1 because they both can be divided by a minus 4. So that reduces down to 1. All right, now you try one of these. Okay, go ahead, do that problem and then come back to the video. When I combine the numbers on the top, r plus 2r is 3r. 5 plus negative 1 is positive 4. And on the bottom, I get r minus 5. So that should have been your answer for the one that you tried. On subtraction, it's the same thing except for don't forget to distribute the negative. Let's say I have 6a minus 4 over 2a plus 2 minus 4a minus 6 over 2a plus 2. Common denominator, which they already have, is 2a plus 2. So I have 6a minus 4, but then it's minus this whole thing. Now the easiest way to do this is to do the subtraction inside the parentheses first. So I'm going to add the opposite of the second number there. Then I'm going to come back here and add the opposite of each number in the parentheses. Then I'll combine like terms. So that gives me a 2a plus 2 over 2a plus 2. And again, that's equal to 1. All right, then we moved on to 12.7, which is unlike denominators, where we have to come up with a common denominator. Let's say I have 4 over y plus 6. And 1 over y plus 2. Now, please remember, you got to take that whole thing. You can't just pull out that y and say they have the y in common. That cannot be separated. Anything that's added or subtracted cannot be separated. So the common denominator here is that whole thing. Y plus 6 times y plus 2. They have nothing in common. So this one I'm going to have to multiply top and bottom times y plus 2. This one, y plus 6 and y plus 6. All right, so that's going to give me 4y plus 8. And this is a plus, so it's plus 1. When I multiply that, it's not going to affect it, so it's going to be y plus 6 here. Combining, that gives me 5y plus 14 over y plus 6 times y plus 2. And I can't factor anything out, so it stays exactly like that. Okay, then we did some mixed addition with complex numbers. So some of them were just whole numbers and some of them were fractions. So let's say I have 14 minus 9 over u. You know that a whole number can be placed over 1 to make it a fraction. So the common denominator here is 1 times u. It's the combination of those two. So this one's missing the u. And if you will, this one's missing the 1, but that's not going to affect it. So on the top, I'm going to get 14u minus 9. And u, of course, do not need that 1, so you can just put it over top of u. Don't reduce that down. You cannot separate those two. Okay, now if you could pull the u out and it was multiplied by the 14 minus 9, that would be okay. But this, you've got something added or subtracted to it, so you cannot reduce that. All right, now you try. Try that and then come back to it. Common denominator is going to be 1 times s plus 1. So I'm going to need to multiply this one by s plus 1. And this one by 1, if you will, but it's not going to affect it. So you don't have to put that if you don't want to. Okay, you got to do distributive property. 2s times s is 2s squared. 2s times 1 is just 2s. Plus s minus 1. So that's going to give me 2s squared plus 3s minus 1 over s plus 1. If you could reduce that by factoring it, you would do so, but that one cannot be, so you're going to just leave it just like that. All right, then we did complex numbers. Complex numbers were like fractions within fractions. So m squared over 6n divided by 3m over n squared. First I'm going to write it up and down, or sideways. It's already written up and down, so that's the same as 6m squared over 6n divided by 3m over n squared. Now it's easy to see that I need to invert and multiply, so m squared over 6n times n squared over 3m. We're going to reduce. That's going to leave me an n on the top, and I'm going to reduce there. I have an m on the top. So I have mn over 6. Oh, no, I got a 3 there too, over 18. Okay? All right, let's do one more of those. This one looks a little bit more complicated, but it's really the same type thing. Alright, so it's this divided by this. So I'm going to factor because I'm going to run out of board space. So I have b plus 4 times b minus 3. That's what that factors into. Over, this one factors into b plus 4 and b minus 1. Now, it's divided by this, so I'm going to go ahead because of lack of room on the board, and I'm going to invert. So this right here is going to come to the top, and I'm going to factor out a b. So it's b minus 1. That's what that's equal to. This is going to go to the bottom, so it's b minus 3. Now I can mark out the whole parenthesis. So I'm left with just b. Okay, then the very last part is we solved equations. Okay, so we started out with stuff like this, where we just had two fractions. We did cross products on those. This times this, and this times this. So that's the same thing as saying 5 times n plus 6 is equal to 7 times n plus 2. You must do distributive property. So I have 5n plus 30 is equal to 7n plus 14. I'm going to subtract the 7n, that's going to give me a negative 2. I'm going to subtract the 30, it's going to give me a negative 6. So n is going to equal 3. Let's do one more of those and then I'll give you your homework. Let's make it where it gets a little bit more complicated. You'll have some of these on your homework, which we can make sure you got it down. All right, I'm going to make a common denominator on the left-hand side, but I've got to factor that first. So that's x plus 7 over x plus 3, x minus 3. Okay, that's factored. So I still have this. I look to see what they have in common. They have an x plus 3 in common. I'm going to lightly mark that out. I still want to be able to see it. And then I go back. What is this one missing? This one's not missing anything. I need to bring down that x minus 3 because I bring down whatever else they have besides what they have in common. This one is missing an x minus 3. Now be careful here because the easiest way to do it is add the opposite of second number and make that a negative x, and then you won't mess up. So I have x plus 7 plus negative x squared plus 3x. When I combine like terms, I'm going to have a negative x squared plus 4x plus 7 over x plus 3 and x minus 3. Check to see if you can factor that, but in this particular case, I don't know whether, yeah, I don't think you can. I don't think that's going to factor. So I think you're stuck with that, okay? I think you're stuck with that. All right, your homework, which is review homework. Oh, I hadn't finished, because I still have it. Okay, there we go. That's why it wasn't making sense. Okay, so I'm going to bring that over here. Okay, so that's what this is equal to. Negative x squared plus 4x plus 7. This is not just a factoring one. This is one where you're actually solving it, because you still have it equals 1 over here. So I'm going to multiply both sides times, and if you will, let's just call that x squared minus 9, because that'll be easier. It factors out there. I'm left with negative x squared plus 4x plus 7 is equal to x squared minus 9. I'm going to take that to this side, so it's 2x squared minus 4x minus 16. And then I can factor that into 2x plus 4 and x minus 4 equals 0. I set them both equal to 0 and solve. This is going to give me a negative 2, and this is going to give me a positive 4. So those are my two answers. All right, now your homework. It is page 697 through 700, 12 through 52. But now listen, multiples of 3. So do 12, but don't do 13 and 14. Do 15, don't do 16 and 17. Remember, to know if you're going to do it, you can just add the numbers together. 5 plus 2 is 7. So actually, we're going to stop it at 51 because that's where it's going to stop. Because 52 equals 7, and I can't divide 7 by 3. All right.